Paul Barrow. Welcome back into Tech Path. Let me thank our sponsors, and that is iTrust Capital. This is a place where you guys can start your crypto IRA, but did you know that you can also get into precious metals over there? Just visit itrustcapital.com. You can get into gold, silver, Bitcoin, Ethereum, all sorts of altcoins, and put them in your crypto IRA. Very easy to set up, very easy to maintain, no fees on a monthly basis. So that's a big advantage, or I should say, when you look at the fee structure, it's only on the trades you're making inside your own portfolio. So check it out. Use our link down below to help the channel out and get a $100 funding reward to get started. The question is crypto a safe play right now? And I think a lot of people are looking at this, especially where gold is at, just on a skyrocket, all-time high. You look at some of the equities out there, that in its position, the pressure from BRICS. So everybody's wondering, with this volatility of the election, and what could happen after the election, where does it stand? Hopefully we'll be able to answer all that for you. This is a big week right now. 5 Magnificent 7 reporting in. You got Alphabet reporting, Microsoft, Meta, Amazon, Apple. And also, think about it this way, you got even McDonald's reporting this week. So a lot of happening over there on the equity side. There could be some opportunities out there for sure. And especially if you look at scenarios that are playing around with Tesla, there's a lot of things happening right now on the markets in general. Don't forget also that we've got some rate cuts ahead of us. Canada slashes rates by another half, going down to 3.75, third straight cut. Canada was also the first G7 nation to cut. That's a big deal. But it is falling behind. GDP per capita is dropping 2% annually. I think this is a problem that Canada has continued to have. If it were to keep pace with the U.S. economy, it'd be about 8.5% larger, 6,200 more Canadian, but that is not necessarily going to be the case. This is a problem when you get bad actors in your organizations, especially within your political side of things. And I think that's what's coming on in Canada. Other points I want to get to right here, macro events going to drive major volatility in the crypto market. A few things that are pointed out in this article that I think are interesting. Non-farm payrolls, key highlight this week. We could see numbers coming in quite soft. November 1st, which could drive a large amount of movements in the financial markets. So that's going to be playing into this. And also a lot of people, economists looking at the non-farm payrolls, they say may increase by 125,000 jobs a month after surging by 254. Now, you say increase, but really that's trending down when you can compare to the previous. Unemployment rate also seen unchanged at 4.1. I don't think that's a good thing. That's still showing very strong unemployment. Weaker than expected report might raise concerns about the economy, and I think that's a big one where a lot of people are going to look at maybe some alternative assets, and some of those could be crypto. The GDP for Q3, this is coming in on the 30th of October, so this will be this week. Median forecast around 3.2 after a Q2 GDP of around 3%. So that's okay within that, but a change in investor sentiment could also drive more demand for Bitcoin. And I think that's the question is Bitcoin the play here, or are other tokens the play? If you're trying to figure out where to go on safe investments, still see some potential upside here. All of this playing out with the presidential election just a week away, and everybody is concerned about this because you got to think about the worst case scenario that could play out within this, and that is a Trump win, a contesting by the courts, issues happening around the U.S. with riots and things and craziness like that. Could we see scenarios happen with banks? All kinds of things are really unsettling right now, and I think that's the question everybody's looking at. You look at Polymarket right now, Trump continues his commanding lead over on the predictive markets, including the swing states by quite a bit. I'll zoom in on those. Almost every swing state right now is holding a commanding lead on Trump. What was surprising me is the fact that he's been able to get in so close on the popular vote. Does that actually get much closer as we start to see the election coming on? By the way, we're going to be doing a huge live stream on election night. We'll be announcing more about that this week, so stick around for that. If you're not subscribed to the show right now, do it. Take a time, hit subscribe right now. It is a big deal because when we do these live streams, it's going to send you out a notification. That way you'll get notified of that. A lot of big news, I think, will be dropping on election night. And I think that's going to be huge for crypto and really investments, I think, in general, globally. The other thing that plays into this is where we see these betting markets being compared to what's happening in crypto. Here's Matt Sigel coming in from Van Eck. CME says political betting markets not dissimilar to Bitcoin. Bets no for now, declines, you look at where it's been in the past. But I think the key here is when you look at the betting markets and the predictive markets and the comparison to where Bitcoin was in the early days, very similar, very similar. Other than the fact that I think it's gone mainstream because nobody was really talking about Bitcoin in its early days. Everybody's talking about Polymarket in its early days. So pretty interesting stuff here. Global investors are also rushing into U.S. stocks. This is why we're starting to see more push to the U.S. stock market, now reaching 145 billion year to date, most on record, 10 bill higher than the previous high seen in 2021, which was massive. And then the majority of inflows now, 105 billion, came from Europe. So a lot, and 40 billion coming in from Asia Pacific. So a lot of internationals looking at the equities play as being one of the potentials as the safe play. I still think it's going to be crypto, maybe the top 2 or 3 assets within crypto. Part of that I want to get into with what Matt Sigel had to say about this. Is it bullish for crypto? Take a look.
If there's a lot of liquidity, risk assets seem to go up. Therefore, Bitcoin seems to go up and down. It doesn't seem to be a safe haven with risk assets. It seems to move totally correlated with, the NASDAQ or the Magnificent Seven or whatever.
The correlations change over time. Over a 10-year time horizon, the NASDAQ correlation with Bitcoin is a 0.19, quite low. Over the last 3 months, it's a 0.5, and that's a 2.5-year high. And that may be keeping some allocators on the sideline because they want to see it fall. Our bet is that this is a very bullish setup for Bitcoin into the election. We saw the exact same pattern in 2020 where Bitcoin lagged with low volatility. And then once a winner was announced, we had a high vol rally as new buyers come into this market. And that's the great thing about Bitcoin is that every day there's new buyers being born. It's kind of like the video game industry. The olds who hate it die off. The new folks are buying it. And what we think is that once the election result is finalized, Moody's is going to downgrade U.S. sovereign debt, and that could be a catalyst.
That, I think, is a big factor. He hit on something right there, is the U.S. sovereign debt, and getting it downgraded would be a big, big hit in general for the U.S. dollar. And of course, that moves into other topics here, and that is the pressure of de-dollarization. One of the things that plays around that is going to be BRICS. Now, BRICS, we've done a couple of videos on that. Go back in our channel, watch the last 2. We had one that kind of broke down what BRICS is doing, and there was one video there that got into it with Andy Schechner, and the concept was around gold, which was the better route to take. So go back and watch those videos. You'll get a little bit of a lesson on BRICS. But I want to break into what he had to say around Bitcoin versus BRICS. Take a look what Sigel had to say.
Yeah, it's a non-U.S. asset. It's an emerging markets asset. And while we were all hyperventilating about the election over the last week, BRICS had a conference in Russia. There's 6 new members of BRICS this year. So BRICS GDP is now greater than the combined GDP of G7. Of the 6 new members, 3 of them, Argentina, the UAE, and Ethiopia, are now mining Bitcoin with government resources. So there is tremendous urgency outside of the U.S. to find a way to circumvent the irresponsible fiscal policy that we've been running here in the U.S. In fact, Russia announced an initiative. Their sovereign wealth fund is going to invest in a regional initiative to build Bitcoin mining and AI infrastructure throughout BRICS with an idea of settling global trade in Bitcoin. So look, someday, I don't know if it's 5 years, 10 years, Putin's going to die. We're going to look to reintegrate some of these countries into the world financial system, and they're going to be trading with Bitcoin. What are we going to be doing? We have a model that assumes that by 2050, this is very long term, that Bitcoin becomes a reserve asset that's used in global trade and held by global central banks at a very modest 2% weight. And in that model, we arrive at a $3 million price target for Bitcoin. Now, that sounds, extreme, but that's a 16% compound annual growth rate for a couple decades. That's not really that extreme. So into the millions over the medium term is a high conviction call.
All right, so you can see, obviously, Van Ag, very strong. We've shown them. He's been on our show before. They're very bullish on crypto in general, but I think they themselves are even conservative. He's talking about 2050. You look at that, that's almost 25 years away. I think this happens in the next decade. We are seeing a massive uptick, and he kind of hit on a little bit of that in the fact that you've got so many emerging countries, Argentina, Ethiopia, UAE, We know the idea around that. You're going to see all sorts of opportunities here when it comes to AI and also blockchain. And I think crypto is going to be one of them. Bitcoin will be a big beneficiary of this. Could it become a reserve asset? Yeah, I think it could be. If you look at this right here, this is going, and I track this Twitter account. I'm always skeptical of these Twitter accounts that put BRICS on their name, but this is talking about Saudi Arabia now hosting top financial leaders, including BlackRock, Goldman Sachs, Citibank, all in Riyadh this week. So what is that up to? Well, the likelihood is that we could be seeing some sort of convergence within the global financial system, within a rising GDP representative. He talked about those 36 countries now outpacing the G7. I guess you just step back and think about what I just said there in terms of all the major Western countries. That's including Canada, the United States, the UK, Australia, etc. These are massive and have been massive. Are we finally seeing a big shift here going forward? Here's Eric Balchunas coming in. Emory University reported about 15.8 worth of Bitcoin, now first endowment to report a Bitcoin ETF position. So again, this is just showing more adoption and also the more acceptance idea behind these assets that were so-called risk assets a year, 2 years ago, are now in mainstream media every single day. For God's sake, they're using Polymarket as their polling tool for almost every major news outlet out there. I want to go to another clip here. And this clip goes in on Pompliano talking about why companies now are starting to take a step. Take a look.
Well, if you think about corporations, they're just a collection of individuals, and individuals in this country who hold cash are going to lose. We live in a society where the dollar continues to lose purchasing power. In my lifetime, over the last 30 years, the dollar's lost 50% of its purchasing power. So $1 30 years ago can only buy you 50 cents of goods today. Well, corporations are no different. And so what a lot of people see is that they believe that they are being safe by putting their money in dollars. But if I told you that there was an asset that's guaranteed to lose value, would you go put all of your balance sheet in that asset? Probably not. And so that's where people are saying...
But you can't guarantee that Bitcoin gains value. You can't guarantee that.
You can't guarantee that it's going to gain value, but what you can guarantee is the dollar is going to lose value, and all assets priced in dollars are going to continue to go up over a long period of time, whether that's real estate, stocks, Bitcoin, or other commodities.
Now, that's like any, asset out there. I still believe that, we are talking about very volatile scenarios, but I think most people watching our show are probably saying, hey, Paul, this is a 5-year play for me, a 10-year play, a 20-year play for me. And I think if you're looking at it that way, you're in the right place. You're probably in the right place. But if you do compare it to quick in and out trades, things of that nature, well, the forecasts are a little different. Here's one analyst forecasting a pre-election surge on Bitcoin. And granted, if you look at where the chart is today, I'll take a look at it in a second. It could be, because remember, we were just almost 65 not too long ago, and now we're edging back up near 69. We could break 70 by the end of the week, and all this leading into the election. So be on the lookout here. Profit taking could weigh in on the price of Bitcoin, probably after and post-election, depends on the result. So we could see another push back down to 60K. Could it be? Or it could be one of those things where it's just up and to the right. We don't know. Several factors right now supporting Bitcoin's potential rise, particularly anticipated interest rate cut we will see next week. Remember, that's happening 2 days after the election. So we may not even have a president by then, but we'll know at least some idea. But they also talked about the 2-day gap. This is a big deal. It'll be interesting to see if that has any bearing on the Federal Reserve, especially one that says we're not really, involved politically. Microsoft also has placed an assessment of investing in Bitcoin. This is on the ballot for its 2024 annual shareholder. We covered that over the weekend, last week, on whether or not they would do it. I'm still questioning as to whether or not a major company like Microsoft would take the kind of step that maybe an Elon Musk would do with Tesla. And he's looking like a hero right now, or someone like a Michael Saylor, who is absolutely looking like what could be one of the best trades in the history of mankind. So lots of opportunity here for sure. This analyst is predicting that Bitcoin should trade between 66 and 75. If it hits 75 over the next week, you're going to see some other assets on the move. So be cautious out there. Be aware if you're in this for the long term. Is this, I think the real question that everybody's going to be asking, is this the high of the market? Is this the high? Would you look at all of the factors playing into this? Securities, where gold is going, the issue of de-dollarization, the potential shift of an administration, I think all things are leading to the right levels, and that is up. Now, does that mean that altcoin season is here? I think that everybody's asking the same question. Why is ETH not moving? Why are we not seeing avalanche move? Well, I think there's still some, rabbits to come out of the hat for a lot of these altcoins. And also, I don't think timing is there right now. So you can kind of see it. It's still Bitcoin season. Holding in, you kind of see the potential of where we could slide into altcoin season. But we've got some time to work into this right now. And I think right now, it's security and less volatility. And Bitcoin is probably going to pave the way for all of that. If you guys want more of those kind of things where I break down some of the charts and just where our sentiment data is, make sure and get in on the Diamond Circle. Also, follow me out there on X. It's @PaulBaron. We'll catch you next time right now on TechPath.